Okay.
Okay. I call to order the April 26, 2022 meeting of the Permanent Public Building Committee. This is a recorded session under Governor Baker's emergency order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, issued March 12, 2020, and in effect until termination of the emergency, authorizing the conduct of public meetings by public bodies virtually, provided that adequate access is provided to the public. This order was most recently extended through July 15th, 2022. Welcome, everyone. Our first item for business is the approval of the minutes of April 11th, 2022. The chair understands that no comments have been received. If there are no comments, the chair will entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Erwin. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Okay, so a motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify, well, actually, I should do a roll call. My apologies, I'm a little out of practice. Roll call, George Kent.
Yes, aye.
Erwin.
Aye.
Jean.
Aye.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you. Okay. The next topic is the Hillside and Emery Grover building projects. And with that, I will turn it over to Hank. Welcome, Hank.
Well, let's see. Anne's just coming in.
Okay.
Here's Anne, and then Barry's should be coming in too.
Great.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Great. So thank you, Mr. Chair. We did receive the bids for the Hillside renovation project, and those were distributed. And Ken will perhaps start off the discussion by reviewing tallies, and then Walter Singler from BH+A will talk about a little bit about the low bidder. At the conclusion of that, I would like to request a vote, Mr. Chair, to authorize us to move forward with setting a contract for the low bidder. So Ken, do you want to walk us through?
Share my screen here. I can find the right one. There we go. All right, let me get to, oops. So let me turn it around here. Make it a little bigger. All right, we had, as you can see, we had 5 bidders. I sent this sheet out yesterday. 2 of the bidders came in below our base bid. 1 was a little over, and 2 were 20% or more over. But it was heartening to see that we had a couple bids below the estimate, which bodes well for the current environment, if you will, the current bidding environment. But the low bid was JJ Cardosi. Came in at 1.277 million, which is 173,000 below what we had for the estimate. As you can see, the other bidders, Mill City was 73 under, and then the other 3, Seaver, Northern, and GVW, were all above what came in. Before I have Walter speak to Cardosi, I can tell you a little bit about some of the info I found. They've done some municipal projects. They did one with KBA. I asked KBA about it. They did the Randolph Fire Station with them. And while Keith Mercy, our architect, didn't work with them, he talked to some people in their office and they gave them a thumbs up. They've done work with New Bedford Housing Authority, done some other public work. So they appear to be capable. They're obviously small. Smaller, they're kind of like well, you can see Seaver Construction was one of the bidders. They did the Cogswell building, and so they're kind of in that class, that size. So
they did PSAB as well.
I'm sorry, what's that?
They did PSAB as well.
Seaver did, yes. Yep.
Yes.
That was before my time. That was BK, George, before Ken.
Okay. Anyway.
So As Hank said, I'll let Walter give you a little input with their experience on it. And then we'd like to take a vote to award the contract to Cardosi so we can get the letter out and the contract going. So once we get the approval at town meeting, we can move forward with getting them started middle of May or so. So Walter, if you let me stop sharing. And Walter, if you want to jump in and give us your experience with Cardosi.
Sure. I spoke with Jay Cardosi 2 days ago about his bid, and he was very comfortable with the price that they put together. I worked actually with Cardosi in the past, maybe 3 years ago. We did a project in Grafton for the public TV studio that they have there. It was about an $800,000 project, so it was a little smaller than this, but just this is in the wheelhouse of the kind of work that these guys do. They were very responsive during the course of the project. So change orders were about 6% of the cost of the project, but most of that was owner driven. The electrical sub that they're using is Galway Electrical in Needham. So I think you guys are familiar with their work, and Galway is DCAM certified. And Tel Data consultant they're using is American Teleconnect. They're out of Rhode Island. Jay Cardosi works with this Tel Data company on a regular basis, so they're very familiar with their work. And American Teleconnect is also DCAM certified, so they're a good outfit.
And,
So
and Walter, you do recommend them. Excellent.
I recommend using them.
Perfect. And just on the project that you had mentioned in was Grafton, the workmanship, you were satisfied with the quality of the workmanship?
Yes.
Of it. Great. Excellent. Any questions or comments with respect to to this particular bidder as being the awardee? Yes, Hank.
Yeah, I would also say that Galloway was the electrician on one of the Pollard projects that we did. And they were very responsive. And being in Needham, I think they particularly would be interested in this job. Gene, I don't know if you've worked with Galloway before,
No, I have not.
but you've heard of
But
them.
I've heard of this company, yes.
Okay. So with that due diligence and with their bid being very advantageous to the town, we'd like to recommend that the PPBC vote to approve that low bidder, JJ Cardosi. Oops, I see that Anne has a question.
Yes, go ahead, Ann.
I definitely don't want to stand in the way of a very advantageous bid, but I have a curiosity question and hopefully you'd indulge. I'm not sure I completely understand why this bid came in so advantageously when we expect the Emery Grover bid to be the opposite experience. Same market, slightly different work, but it's just a question.
Now, maybe, Ann, as I said, it might be maybe we're being too pessimistic about the market. I had my doubts that this was going to come in under the 1.5, given the current market. But when the file sub bids came in under the estimates 2 weeks ago, and then this one came in under, at least two of them came in under, not all of them, but two of them, maybe we're reading the market a little bit too pessimistically. Also, this is it's in the here and now as opposed to Emery Grover. We've got the unknowns with getting a bid 6 months from now.
Mhm.
So that plays a part in it also.
Okay.
Hank,
You know, the other factor was that we received no electrical bids. And that was probably equal to the HVAC in our estimate. And by not going out to filed sub bid again, but allowing the general contractor to work with somebody that they've worked with before and feel comfortable with, and in this case, somebody who's very local, I think that helped them sharpen their pencil quite a bit.
Mhm.
We're confident. Yes, we will continue to carry a contingency, probably a contingency up to what the cost estimate was. But we're optimistic that they'll be able to start work, coordinate with us as Barry DeLong in the building maintenance department is doing some other work in the building, and move forward and achieve our schedule.
Thank you.
excellent. Any other comments or questions?
I do have a question.
George?
Couple of questions, actually. First of all, I think that there's a big difference, not a huge difference, but a good sized difference between the small project and the Emery Grover project. I think that it's not going to surprise me to see that project come in higher than estimated, whereas this one came in a little lower than estimated. Plus, this is a short duration project, as Hank mentioned. Being a short duration project, it's pretty predictable as to what's going to be happening over the next 6 months. I think you can, order materials and you've got your labor in place and so forth. So I think things are pretty predictable for these small contractors. And so as a result, I think they can bid a price that they think they can get the job and be fairly comfortable that they can get it done for that. With the other one, there's a lot of ifs that are going to have to take place in a contractor's shop. It's about 18 months. No one knows what's going to happen with the cost of materials. We think that, at least I think that they're coming down some. They are actually coming down. Cost of steel and a few other things have already started to decrease. Whether that continues, who knows? So there's a lot of more unknowns in a bigger project like that with a longer duration than a small, essentially rehab project. So that's the first thing. The second question relates to the heating work that building maintenance is going to be doing. They're planning on doing that work at the same time that we're planning on doing this work. Is that work, is that correct that that's going on at the same time? That's the work that we're planning on voting on, right, for town meeting? Hank?
Yes, Barry, do you want to speak to that point?
Yeah, we have the design money, so we're just about to award the contract now. GGD was much lower than BLW, and also one of our other local design engineers that I've used for almost 4 years now, believe it or not. And Jordan Woody will be overseeing that project. So we're about to approve the contract, and then we're going to hopefully get see the construction get approved on May 2nd or during the town meeting. And then we're going to put it out to bid as soon as we get the approval and push that as quickly as possible to start the work and be completed before. I'm going to push for September. But yeah, we will be working alongside Hank and his team.
Okay, so we'll coordinate the interface between those two, I assume.
Hank?
Yes, and I should point out that building maintenance, between building maintenance and the school department, every room, all the furniture in the building has been moved out. All old desks, all the old furniture associated with the police fire. A lot of it was recycled at the RTS. The building has been fully swept and broom cleaned, and the building maintenance department has initiated and is working through almost all the unit ventilators, cleaning out those. Mario's doing a great job on that, so that by the time the contractor shows up, rather than
It'll be
seeing a
empty.
very cluttered building, which was the case 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, it's really quite clean.
That's good. Okay.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, the chair will move that the town accept the bid of JJ Cordosi, the amount of $1,277,000. And is there a second?
Second that.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, we will proceed to a roll call vote. George,
Aye.
Irwin,
Aye.
Roy is not in, I take it, correct? Not joined?
No, I
Okay,
don't see him.
Okay, Jean,
Aye.
Anne,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Okay, thank you. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you. Now, there might be a couple other items, I believe, on the, are there any invoices to be settled at this point, Hank?
Well, we do want to go on and brief
Okay.
update the committee on Emery Grover,
Okay.
where we are on that, and then perhaps after that, we can go through some invoices.
Very good.
I see Deborah is with us. I did share the several documents with the BBBC, including a slideshow that was sent out to, or I believe has been sent out to town meeting members, along with the FAQs that have also gone out to town meeting members. A lot of this may be redundant to the committee, but some of it is new, and we just want to make sure that you're up to date with the design. BH+A has moved forward on the design and refined the entrance and the dormer and other aspects of it. So Deborah, do you want to share your screen and walk us through that presentation, perhaps?
I think you're on mute. Okay.
While she's getting that set up, I should also note that Deborah had to recuse herself last night as we were before the design review board, of which she's a member. And Joel Bargman made that presentation. And I think we got some very good feedback from them. And also BH+A and working with town council, the submittal to the ZBA was made today, as well as one to the planning board. But we'll go through this presentation first, and then I'll update you on our schedule moving forward.
All right, Hank, the presentation you want me to put up is the one from last night or the one to the town
I
meeting
guess-
one? They're all kind of similar, but
You know what, you could go through the last night's, otherwise I can share. I think I can bring it up.
I can, just 1 second, I can get it, sorry. Design review board presentation. All right, let me just share my screen. All right, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
So this was presented to, sorry. To the design review board who hadn't seen this previously, so it was a bit of a from the beginning show with some of the historic photos for reference of what this building looked like originally. Those two views that are the views we compare with when we show up the current scheme. We had an updated version of the rendered site plan, which shows, I think, since this group, since you people saw it, some minor changes. We are showing removing both of those trees that the town arborist said should go. We refined our trash enclosure in the parking lot area to fit 2 dumpsters side by side. We were able to add another parking space, so we now have a total of 62 parking spaces by moving the transformer, which we had back here, the electrical transformer, over to the west side of the building. So the power that will now be in a pole at the street and to the transformer and then into the building at the south end won't be having some extra loop to get to the back of the building. And then here again, the bike rack on the along the pathway at the west of the building. Those were I think the changes to the site plan, minor changes, but this is now up to date and this will be presented on one of the boards at town meeting as well. We showed the selected light fixtures and had a hot off the presses analysis of the foot candle that those light fixtures in those locations would bring to the parking area and to the site, showing that we do meet the requirement for an average of 1 foot candle throughout the site, and that it's shielding and directing the light only into the property and not out into any of the residential areas. It's pretty much 0 along the property line. Just to show the design review board, the existing addition and the view from the north will affect the dormer that has to go in here for the elevator overrun, and explained that the elevator has really just one place it can be inside the building that would work to get you into the building and up to the first floor most efficiently. So explaining that and then showing the 2 views of how that will look from the exterior. These views, when we present this on boards at town meeting, we're refining it a little bit more and bringing it down. This view is actually not really for a person at street level. It's raised at about 12 feet. So we're adjusting these views to be down more at eye level from the street. Then to show them at the back of the building some of the changes that there will be, such as removing the brick panels, replacing windows. We're going to be looking at the exact location of some of these existing rain leaders that were retrofit to the building at some point, looking to maybe do something that puts them at the sides rather than this location that's just a little bit unsightly. The location, again, that you've seen before of the new portico that will be enclosed and the ramp from the parking that will come up to that. And we have more developed design for how that infill will look that was included in some detailed drawings. Again, the back of the building, this view showing the ramp up into the enclosed north portico, a ramp and a set of stairs, and then this landscaped area at grade that will still allow the windows to have light into them for the offices that are at the lower level. Our addition for the delivery right here, and then we're still working on this, but the idea of the trash enclosure with double doors that will allow for side-by-side dumpsters. And we're looking at maybe making the dumpster enclosure and the addition look a little more unified, more as one piece rather than two separate pieces. And we'll design the trash enclosure as an architectural piece as opposed to more of a landscape piece. The front of the building, again, pointing out to the committee some of the things we're doing, enclosing the original entry space as a conference room, removing the parking. Again, we're going to be looking at maybe moving these leaders more over to the side of that facade, replacing the copper gutters and the slate, and then no plan to replace the clock face. So this is one item that actually the design review board people mentioned. We hadn't really looked at this too much beyond the decision to not put the clock back up there. The Historical Society has that clock face. But I think we've talked about this here, about the fact that there's no need to have another working clock at Needham Center, where you have the town hall clock, and the cost of making this operational would be considerable. So the design review board suggestion, which is a good one, would be to do something to this to make it look less like something that's been covered over, which it is. So we're going to look at maybe recessing a panel, putting something in the panel, or a dark, just a two-tone color, or if there's some image, whether it's an N for Needham or something that could go in this clock face, is something that we'll be looking at. So it was good that they brought that up. Again, the exterior views, we refined the entrance, the original entrance infill, and we're working on detailing that, and then this infill that will be not just an all glass, but the right balance between a painted wood frame assembly that fits in with the other white painted wood elements that are original to the building, and keeping it glassy and light filled for the north portico. The back facade of the addition and the trash enclosure seen from the church site. Again, we're going to sort of look at maybe making this have some more scale and some more interest. It was mentioned that this was a little too plain. So that, and they also commented on the dormer, and we'll look at subtle ways to either make it a little more modulated with more pronounced verticals, or else eliminating the verticals and make something that's more modern and horizontal. But there seems to be an understanding that these moves have to be made, and that they're being done in an appropriate way that doesn't detract from the building. We showed them also the concept of the type of window we're using, the existing, and then these are the existing, and then this is something similar, and then the metal clad wood with insulating glass and applied muntin approach. A few of the color schemes to show our intent. This is a photograph of the existing brick, and then the idea for what we're thinking of for the cladding of the addition, some kind of a standing seam metal panel that we can have painted in any color we'd like. So we're looking to find a color that is within the range of the brick that works with the existing coloration of the building. And then the last image to show an example of the idea for the color of the dormer. This is a piece of the existing slate from the building that I think I found it in the attic. And then these two color swatches are actually the same color. It's just a matter of how the photograph took. So this is from a website, this peppercorn color from Sherwin-Williams. And then when I put the sample and photographed it together with the slate to show the idea that we're try and blend the dormer in with the slate so that it is as integral with that color-wise as it can be. So we had this PowerPoint, which is more of an overview to present to the design review board, then also submitted to them a full set of drawings that's similar to what's going to the design review board, not the design review board, the same set that's going to the zoning board of appeals and the planning board, with a full set of civil drawings, landscape drawings, and then the architectural, just exterior elevations and floor plans for reference. I could put those up if anybody's interested, but I think the site plan pretty much illustrates the site issues that are out there.
Great.
Great.
Thank you, Deborah. And any questions from the committee?
Deborah, I had one question. As you were talking about the clock face, the cover, shall we say, would the town seal work on that space?
You know, I think where this is up high, I think the town seal, the elements of the town seal would just be too small.
Mm.
So we've had an idea for the, let me just put up the 3D view. So, and this is a little busy looking right now, but approaching the entry porticos, both from the east and the west, we have these glass openings and glass doors, and in both cases have been putting the seal. It's the sorry, the graphic that I think is the school department logo in the glass above the door, kind of as a marker of the entry. That also could go up here, or, you know, as I said, just some in end. I don't know. I just think we can look at putting the seal there, but I just think that the pieces would be too small from a distance.
Okay, thank you. Discussion, questions?
A question.
Yeah, I got a question. So go to the face, can you go to the existing building, Deborah? The face of it, and it's about the clock. The clock
Front,
face.
like,
Yeah.
okay.
Is there a front view?
The one
Like
I
a couple down, I
have.
think there's one.
Okay, there's this one.
Yeah. So, well, there's another one up top. So those two structures on either side. Those were the part of the natural venting system, correct?
The chimneys that we're not
Yeah.
seeing in this view.
Not the chimneys, but those two structures. Those two structures.
These right here,
Yeah.
these are dormers.
Right, they're dormers, right? So have we thought about, this is just a suggestion. Can you go to that picture that's right up front, a little bit further up? There's one right there. That one right there. where
This
your
one?
porch is at. Yep, yeah. So, oh, that's the back of the building. Oh, so this is a perfect example. Do you see how those dormers, the two small ones on the left and right, and then the larger one in the center?
Yeah,
I was just, the thought was to make that clock face look like just another pitched dormer, like the two, like what you see in the back there. So if there's no intentions of putting.
yeah,
the
you know,
clock
that's an
face-
interesting point. Wait a second. If you bear with me
Yeah,
for 1 second, I can show you the original, on the original drawing, there was
yeah. That's
there
interesting.
was no clock in the original
Right.
elevation.
So the
it was
question
a
is if-
similar
right, if there's
dormer
no
with
more
a hip
clock fa- if there's
slate
no more
roof
clock
to
face
what's
going
on the
back up there.
backside.
Right, if there's no more clock face going back up there, maybe we could consider that as an option. Obviously, we put something up there, I'm gonna have to maintain it 10 years down the road. Which would be difficult. I'd have to get a lift and whatever it is that's put up there. But if we just turn it into another pitched roof or pitched like the other two dormers, maybe that's an idea.
Anne,
Thank you. I like Barry's suggestion, but as an alternative, I wonder if there is a possibility of allowing the school department, the superintendent, to decide potentially, or make a suggestion about what he might like on the face of the building. A thought has occurred to me that for instance, Needham High School, the kids were involved in the selection of the logo for the department. And there might be some interest on the part of the school department to select some kind of small design for that space, either created by the kids or whatever, but just a thought.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we can start by just putting some ideas on some drawings for discussion, but yeah, certainly you could sort of have a competition to design the image for the building, or,
I can see that as being something that would be unifying for the school department and, something that would be of interest. But in the absence of that, I do like Barry's idea quite a bit if that wasn't something the school department would.
Yeah, so this is the one I was thinking of that is, I understand to be the logo of the Needham Public Schools, just the tower with the N in it.
The kids designed that logo.
For the space over the, something on the glass at the door to mark the entry to the door. So
Is that
here's the
Needham High School
seal,
cupola?
which I think, this just would get lost too high up. Let's see what else I have just in my files of stuff found on the internet. This is too small an image. There's some old logo with a picture of the building on it. But yes, there are, on a project like this, there are always sort of potential for locations where there's artwork, whether that's something that's purchased or something that we already have, or something that can be student designed. We can even look for other places within the building where, there could be a mural or a painting or something. I was actually thinking that old clock face that's in the Historical Society building, if they're willing to give it up, that could come find a home on a wall inside the building someplace.
Thank you.
Hank,
Yeah, also it could be a window.
Yeah.
I remember when the structural engineer was climbing up in that space. There is a roof, it's a pitched roof on top of that. And I think it's metal clad.
It's like a barrel vault
It's a barrel vault.
on
yeah.
top of that, yeah.
So that if it were punched through, it would kind of look like a clock because the glazing would be darker during the day. And it might bring additional light into that space.
Oops, I was trying to load that up, but yes, so we can look at that. We can make a drawing of that sort of at a larger scale and give it to Ann and Dan, and let everybody have get some ideas going for that.
great. Some terrific ideas. Any other questions or comments for this part of the meeting?
I do. I got just one more,
Barry?
sorry. Deborah, the 3D renditions you showed us, they were just kind of plain. Are we gonna put color to that and make it a true pedestrian rendition once we present this?
These drawings.
Yeah,
Um,
we're gonna put some color to that, some trees, some kind of like a scale pedestrian type, kind kind of visibility, like what it would actually look like given some other schemes. We're not just going to present this in a one kind of a white stark kind of looking.
Right. I mean, for next week for town meeting, we're going to present the black and white views as we've been developing our 3D model of this, and it has been done in color. It's kind of hard to get the brick color to look like a good match. So
Yeah.
we haven't, that can be distracting when the colors aren't quite right, which is why I think for purposes of just showing the few moves that we're making on the building.
It's just nice to see a pedestrian perspective.
This works.
in
Yeah, so we're going to
3D.
bring it down, and then moving forward and for the duration of the project, if there's certainly to have a rendering to show what the completed building would look like, we can have some time and have a whether we do it or send it out to our renderer to actually do what you're saying, in addition to the building, add more of the landscape and the trees and people.
Yeah,
And we can have a nice rendering of one of these views.
thank you.
Great. Okay, if there are no other questions or comments, I think at this point, Hank, if we can wrap this topic up and move up onto the invoice or invoices.
Yeah, I should mention that we did have a meeting with Select Board on the 13th, and they urged us to move forward with the accelerated schedule. They saw great advantage to coming back to fall town meeting with bids in hand if additional funding is necessary. As you recall, during the last meeting, design development cost estimate was coming in about $2 million higher than anticipated from the feasibility stage work. And in our original schedule, we wouldn't be coming back with the bids in hand until mid-December. So with that, Ken and I are going to work with BH+A and their team to try to expedite reviews with the school department, with building maintenance department and others as need be to make it such that we can get the bids out on the street by the 1st of September. That's our goal. And we'll come back at the next meeting with a series of milestones along the way where we'll want to talk about interior design, FF&E, mechanical systems, so on and so forth, energy management, so that they can get the approvals that they need to move expeditiously in the design process. So we'll come back with that in greater detail at the next meeting.
Excellent. Thank you, Hank. All right, Hank, at this time, if there's no other discussion with respect to this item, I think we can move on to the invoice that needs to resolve. Okay. I have in the materials that were sent out this afternoon, we have an invoice for under Emery Grover for Hill International. That's the March 2022 cost estimating services, EG, for Emery Grover for $19,012.50. The chair will make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we will do our roll call vote. George?
Aye.
Irwin?
Aye.
Jean?
Aye.
Anne?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. Thank you, presenters, for the Emery Grover presentation. Very, very helpful. And just want to make sure that maybe Deborah and Hank, can we make sure that the committee has the most recent version of the materials that you provided and showed us this evening? Just want to make sure we have the most current version. So, okay, thank you.
And
Great.
so Barry will be needed for the Ridge Hill vote on the invoice.
Yes, he will. So we will, I'm actually going to, I think we can take that up now because I don't want to keep Barry longer than, 'cause we have another topic that is really just for the committee proper coming up next. So I think I'd like to see if we can advance the Ridge Hill discussion now, if that's okay. So Barry can participate.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Ann. Thank you, Deborah. And thank you, Walter. Okay. So Ken, I believe we have an invoice. Is there anything else that we need to discuss regarding Ridge Hill, or just the invoice?
Nope, just
Okay.
the $1,000 portion of the Hill International invoices was for estimating services at Ridge Hill.
Okay, so was that a separate invoice, or was that covered?
No, it was
in the-
rolled into one. We're just apportioning it,
Got it.
1,000 to Ridge Hill and
Okay.
the balance to Emery Grover.
Okay, so do we need we need a motion? I take it for this so I will, the chair will move that the Hill International invoice for Ridge Hill in the amount of rather for March 2022 cost estimating services for Ridge Hill in the amount of $1,000. I will make that motion and ask if there is a second. For a second.
Don't everybody speak at once.
Second,
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Erwin. Any discussion? Okay, then in that case, we will do our roll call vote for the Ridge Hill invoice from Hill International. George,
Aye.
Erwin,
aye.
Jean,
Aye.
Barry. Still here? Yeah, Barry?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Unmute,
He's
Barry.
on mute.
Can we have your vote on the Ridge Hill invoice from Hill International?
Yes, the
$1,000.
$1,000 invoice. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Aye.
That's correct. Thank you. Okay. And the chair votes aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Barry, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it as always. Okay. Great. Okay, so now moving on, the next item is our continued discussion of the Newari Needham United Against Racism Initiative. And as you recall from previous sessions, when we've taken this topic up, we talked about the fact that we would come up with some ideas that we might want to put forth as a committee, as opposed to potentially signing off on the official narrative that has been posted by the town, and to which a number of town boards have signed up. We looked at the fact that our committee and the work that we do really is probably would be better served, I think, in terms of having a kind of a commitment of our own as to the work that we do and how we might actually assist in expanding our horizons in terms of equity and our ability to make for better and equal opportunity for all. So with that, I know George, you had put together some potential ideas. I'm not sure if that was in conjunction with Lynn, or if Lynn has her own set. Lynn is not here tonight, but we can certainly take up for a few minutes George's recommendations.
This set of suggestions is a combination of what Lynn suggested and what I suggested. And
Okay.
so I just compiled them together. Lynn commented to me that it seemed complete and it had all the items that we had considered previously. Not that we had voted on any of them or really adopted any of them. They just out there for discussion.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the first one, work with the town manager to identify qualified potential candidates. Then that's something that we could do. I don't think that's awfully controversial. We can certainly take the initiative to look through the voter rolls and see what people's background is and maybe come up with some candidates that way. I don't know how you find out whether they're diverse candidates that way or not, but maybe there's a way of finding out. I don't know. But we certainly could look and see who might be qualified that could potentially have a focus on diversity.
Okay,
That
very
was
good.
one of the items. Okay.
Mhm.
And then a second item that Lynn suggested was to consider possible expansion of the PBVC to allow for diverse candidates. Now, maybe you want to take each one of these up and have some discussion on each one before we move to the second item.
Certainly, we could do that. We're not going to make any decisions tonight because we will not have a quorum for this particular discussion. But I think it's worth at least starting to think about some of the ideas that have been put forth, and I'm happy to take them up one at a time. And
Why don't we look at that first one that I mentioned?
Yeah. Okay, so work with town manager to identify qualified potential candidates that would have a focus on diversity. Clearly, that's something that I think is it's very basic, and I think it's something that can be done. I think you're right. We would have to think about the mechanics of how that would be done, but certainly. I think each of us can commit to kind of sourcing qualified candidates in the community based on people we know, people who are referred to us, and that sort of thing. Any other comments or questions with respect to item number 1? Erwin.
I just have a question. Is that the same as item number 3?
Actually, item number 1 feeds into item number 3 because there's nothing really to be done with that list except to make sure that it's an up-to-date list so that when there is an opening, that can be sent to the appointing authority and they can make a suggestion of potential candidates from that. So 1 feeds into 3.
Okay. Great. Okay, any other comments? All right, item number 2, consider possible expansion of the PBC to allow for diverse candidates. I thought that was interesting. I think I would need to kind of think about the mechanics of expanding the committee. We would not want to become an unwieldy situation. On the other hand, I think there are a number of committees that work well with as many as 9 members. So it is possible that we could certainly think about that. It would require a bylaw change, but certainly something that would be possible. I guess one question I would have for George and Lynn when she is next able to attend is the question of whether those additional expanded slots would they be representative of particular professional professions, or would they just be a kind of at-large members?
Well, the message that I got from Lynn, she's the one that suggested it. I have no interest in this one, but I'll mention what the reason she suggested it was that kind of be an extra slot so that there's another opportunity for a diverse candidate. Other than, in other words, right now there aren't any open positions.
Right.
So if you want to change that, one way to do it is to add another seat on the committee and make it specifically go after someone who is a diverse candidate, then you'd have somebody on there. But that's, in my opinion, I don't think that's a good idea. Number one, I don't think you should have a specific seat for someone just because they're a diverse candidate. That has nothing to do with what we do. And therefore, I think it doesn't make sense to do that. That's my opinion.
I don't think legally we could designate it as a slot for a diverse candidate only. I don't think that would work. But I think that the other thing too is that we would have to, if we were going to expand the committee in the hope of filling one or both of those slots with diverse candidates. Just we would have to have an odd number. We can't just add one seat. That would not make sense because in a tie vote we would have a problem. So we would always, I think you look at any committee around town and it's always an odd number. So I would certainly, we would have to add 2 seats if we were to go down that path. But I agree with you, George, there are some problems with that particular suggestion. Any other comments or questions on that? Okay. Sorry, Erwin, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't like the idea. I think the emphasis should be on items 1 and 3 to increase the likelihood that when a slot opens up, it could be filled by someone who fits the description of being having a diverse profile. I don't like artificially trying to get at something sort of a roundabout way. I think you want the best qualified people.
Yep.
And you just want to, if the issue is that we haven't had enough qualified people who are diverse to be considered, then we need to put more efforts into increasing the pool of candidates who are both qualified and diverse. So I think 1 and 3 would supersede item 2. I'm not crazy about expanding the committee for that kind of, I kind of see it as almost as an artificial reason for doing it.
I would absolutely echo your comments, Erwin. I think well stated, and I would absolutely agree.
Agree.
Okay, anything else on that particular point? Okay, all right, moving on to item 3, which we sort of talked about in conjunction with item 1. Any further comments before we move on?
My only comment again on this is that the only way that we can add new members to the committee is through the appointing authority.
Right.
So the onus is on them to select a candidate that would be more diverse than the ones they've been selecting. The indication is that should probably be the case, but we certainly have no problem helping them, but they're the ones that have to do it. So we can't forget that we can't appoint people. We can remove them, but we can't appoint them.
Erwin, hand up. Yep.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about the mechanics of doing items 1 and 3. It says work with the town manager. Would we
Well,
want
she
to
has-
formalize
she
the
has
process in
access-
some way?
Well, she has access to information that we may not have access to. For example, there's a list of voters in the town. She has ready access to that. She may also have information about diverse those potential candidates. For example, if on the voting rolls, Erwin, you and I are listed as engineers somewhere in the system. So someone can go on to the voting rolls and find out that as what we put down on the census, we're listed as engineers. So that would be a good indication that if we needed another engineer on the committee, or let's say you or I were resigning from the committee, we could compile a list of engineers. From that list of engineers, we could then say which ones of these have a diverse background, and we could actually ask around, and there may be also some information that town manager has access to that will allow us to know who is a diverse candidate. I don't know. I just threw that in because whatever we do, if we're going to be collecting names of candidates, I'd like the town manager to be involved with that.
Well, maybe my question is a little bit further down the road. I'm just thinking ahead as how do we start to implement these recommendations? In other words, do we set up a formal dialogue with town manager? Is it more organic? I mean, how do we
I would think so.
eventually enact these kinds of recommendations?
I would think we would start a dialogue with the town manager and say, look, we're trying to be cooperative with or consistent with the Newari diversity goals. Help us figure out who might be a potential qualified candidate first, and then which of those have a diverse background. That's something that I wouldn't want to do without either the town manager or someone else in the town helping me do that. I just think that would be a good starting point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I would also note too that I'm sure that the town, I know the town in the past has proactively posted on the website volunteer opportunities, ability to sign oneself up for as someone who might be interested in a particular opportunity to serve on a volunteer board. So there are a number of avenues that can be explored and kind of fleshed out in terms of achieving the diversity goal that we're all talking about. Item number 4, consider term limits for PBBC members to allow for more available openings. This is one that I have some trouble with, only because I do think that really the term limit concept really belongs with the appointing authority. I don't think there's a precedent for it in any other position in town service, and I think it could cause problems for the PBBC in terms of our historical knowledge base and that sort of experience level and so forth. I think there are ways to certainly rotate off members over time. And as I think I mentioned in a previous meeting, certainly that's how the approach that's been taken by the town moderator with respect to the finance committee, and I assume other bodies or appointments that the town moderator makes. And I think other appointing authorities probably also think about that as well. So I'm not sure that setting term limits would be productive for the PBC, at least as stated. But that's not to say that again the appointing authority might have some views on that, and I would certainly would want to reach out to the appointing authority to get their thoughts on that. But any discussion, any comments with respect to item 4? Erwin, is your hand up, or is that?
Yeah,
okay, sorry.
I put it back up.
Sorry.
I don't like this suggestion either. It could also backfire in the overall objective, because you might have someone appointed who fits the description of having a diverse background. And if there's a 3-year limit, then that person's off the committee in 3 years. So I think there's some problems with trying to set term limits that would not necessarily serve the goals of increasing the diversity profile of the committee.
I think one reason why, I don't want to speak for Lynn, but one reason why she included that was if there's no movement in committee membership, then there's no opportunity for a new person to take the place of a person moving off.
Which gets us back to the appointing authority.
Right.
Ultimately, it's the appointing authority's decision and determination.
Right. And generally speaking, and this is the hard part, if the committee is doing a great job, there's not a lot of incentive to move them out of there. At least that's the way I've seen it in the past. Typically, the appointing authority is only involved when we have an opening because someone has resigned for some reason, or in the last case that we had prior to Lynn coming on in place of Natasha. Right. Prior to that, we actually encouraged 2 people to leave the committee because they were not participating. And so as a result, in that particular case, those people were asked to resign, and then and it was, consistent with the desire of the committee as well, because we wanted people to participate, not just be in name only on the committee. And so those 2 people were asked to resign, and then the appointing authority had to find 2 people to replace them. One of which was, I'm trying to remember. Oh, Roy.
That would
Roy
be,
was one.
I think it's Gene and
You
myself.
You and,
Yeah.
was it Gene and you?
Yeah.
Or was it Roy and you?
No,
In any event.
Because Gene and
yeah,
I
I
interviewed
guess
at the same
it-
time.
That's right. So that was the two of you.
Yeah.
But for example, if everyone that's on the committee really enjoys being on the committee, then there's no movement. And so I
Right.
think the methodology behind Lynn's comment was one way to get movement is to limit the amount of time someone can serve on the committee and not make it so limiting that you lose the knowledge of how the committee operates and what the good practices are that have been adopted over the years.
Okay.
So that's the reason for it. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so we will certainly, I'm sure we'll discuss that in more detail in a future meeting. Then item 5, include diversity as part of the selection criteria / process for any bench support, quote unquote, or project manager candidates / firms. This certainly seems like a reasonable suggestion. George, any comments on this in terms of the
No,
thought process behind it?
Right. This is one that I suggested because we, from time to time, hire a person, as you know, to be on our bench, to be on easy call, so we can essentially make them part of the on-call process. In a number of areas, we've hired people. So one of the things that we could do is, as we advertise for those companies like a cost estimating firm or a project manager in general, we could say, make sure that you as a company include enough diverse candidates so that we could consider them as well, and that item, diversity, is very high on our list of desires as a town. We could do that.
Yep.
And I think it would be relatively painless in terms of making it happen. It would kind of force the companies that supply these candidates to look in their bench and say, who do we have? If Needham is that interested in having a diverse candidate, who do we have that's a diverse candidate that would meet their qualifications?
Yep.
And so I think that's kind of stepping out and doing something a little differently. We kind of do it in a kind of haphazard way now. We encourage it, but we don't do much. We don't push really hard. So that's why I included that one. I thought that was a good idea.
Agreed. Any other questions or comments on item 5?
I agree. It's a good idea.
Great.
Thank you. Okay. And next, item 6, more strongly encourage diverse partnerships on proposed architectural teams, include a quote diversity score, close quote, during the selection process.
So this was my suggestion again,
Mhm.
and I can mention what I'm getting at here. So as we select a firm, like let's say we select Doran Whittier, we could say to Doran Whittier, look, is there any way that you could partner with a diverse firm as part of your architectural team? Or do you have diverse candidates on your team? If we look at Doran Whittier as an example, there aren't any diverse candidates on their teams. I can't think of any. Can you? I don't think there are.
No, I agree.
However, we could say to them, look, we want to see diverse candidates on your team. If you have to go and team up with another architectural firm to supply you some of that, then that's up to you, but we want to see that. And so we're going to score you on, as we look at selection process for our architectural team, we're going to score you on whether or not you've provided some diverse candidates. And I think that, again, may be a relatively easy one for us. May not be so easy for the architectural teams to do that.
Hank.
Yeah, I'm in the selection process for MSBA projects. We have to include participation, a certain percentage of participation in MBE, WBE firms for both the design team and for the construction team. And so that was true with Sunita Williams. We also had bench support from Daedalus projects with some diversity in that team. And they helped both on the Sunita Williams project, but also the high school expansion project.
Sunita Williams, we had one of the members from Daedalus was a diverse candidate, right?
Yes, that is correct. And
Forgot
also
his
with,
name.
it'll come to me.
Yeah, anyway.
But also in their engineering team, they had, well, the way the law is written, you have to have a certain percentage of MBE and WBE, but it can't be totally dominant in one or the other. And likewise with the contractor, and we fulfilled those, in fact, exceeded it on the design portion of the contract, and we met it with the construction portion. BH+A, I should point out, is a woman-owned business, and most of their engineering or many of their engineering consultants are also either MBE or WBE. So in fact, when the prime is an MBE or a WBE, then technically 100% of the fee is considered to be, because all the others are sub to the architect, it's considered to be 100% minority participation. On the construction contract for Hillside, we did not require that as part of the bidding process because the project was too small, but we can require it on the Emery Grover project if that is a desire of the committee.
In the past, Hank, we've attempted to encourage both the contractor and the architectural team, but we've never really been persistent about it, if you know what I mean.
Well, we had to be on the MSBA projects.
I understand that. That's a different situation. Not all of our projects, of course, are MSBA projects. So on the ones that are not MSBA projects, as a town, we have not been as insistent. We were encouraged to do the best we could, but there was no requirement that we have a certain percentage for that. What I'm suggesting is that we be a little more overt about it for all of our projects, not just MSBA projects.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
So if we can do it, on MSBA projects, we should be able to do it on the others. But making it a part of the process, to me, is helping to support the goals of Nuwari.
Yep.
When we make a statement like that, then we have to be able to back that up and say, suppose we don't get, if nobody suggests any diverse candidates, are we supposed to go out for bids again or wait and find another architectural team that will meet our requirements? Will there be hard and fast numerical requirement? That's the implications of all of this. If we're going to put some meat behind it, we might have to do something like that says that a certain percentage has to exist. But right now, as I said, it's not extremely well defined.
Yeah, and in the state regulations, it is. And what I haven't checked with town council is if there's a very minor portion of the CPC funds that are actually state funds, which are state funds matched. And I don't know whether that trips the requirement that we meet the MBE, WBE state requirements.
That's a good question.
Yeah, and I think it might. And also if this committee wants to set the bids up that way, that can be very clearly stated within our bids. We did that. We did do that on Sunita Williams.
Yeah. Okay.
And the both the architecture team and the contracting team have ways in which to supplement filed subbidders and other required portions of the contract. And we can also both encourage and require the subcontractors, where possible, to also include diversity within their teams.
I think those are really good things. Or I wouldn't have put them in there, but the fact is that I think there are some good ways for us to be proactive here. So in my opinion, 8 would be a good thing to do. We have to make sure we know what needs to be done. So it's not just a matter of putting something in words. We have to be ready to put into action. And 7 as well, and 6 as well, and 5 as well. So 5, 6, 7, and 8, I think, are relatively easy to accomplish for us. And to some extent, we do that now, but I don't think as overtly.
Excellent. Any other comments on this particular topic before we finish up for the evening? Okay, well, I think we've made some good headway today on this topic. Obviously, we'll have the full complement of hopefully of committee members at the next session, and we'll be able to drive this further and perhaps come to some concrete decisions. But it sounds like we're getting there. We're very much on our way. So I think it's a credit to everyone. And George, I want to particularly thank you and Lynn for putting this together, or for your respective contributions to this list and taking the lead on it. It's very, very helpful.
Well, one of the things I thought I would do, I don't know if we're going to put this on the agenda for the next meeting, because we have public safety building on that.
Yeah.
And we'll have whatever action occurs at town meeting to consider too.
Right.
But in any event, whenever we discuss it, the next meeting or the one after that, I was thinking of taking a few minutes after town meeting is over with, when the town manager may have a little more time, to actually talk to her about items 1 and 3 and see what the realities are, how difficult that might be to figure out. Or does it all have to be done by word of mouth, and who are some potential candidates and who might be a diverse candidate and so forth. So unless anybody has any problem with that, I think I may talk to the town manager about that and item 1 and 3, and see what the reality of implementing them would be.
I think that's fine. Appreciate that, George, very much. Hank, I think I saw your hand.
Yeah, we have two other voting items. I don't know if we have sufficient quorum.
No, we don't.
We do not. Oh,
No.
I should have asked for the vote on the school master plan invoice when Ann was still with us. Oh well.
Okay. Well, all right. Can we? What our next meeting is scheduled for when? Catherine?
May 16th.
May 16th. Okay. And does that present a problem, Hank?
No. Doran Whittier
Would it be
knows he'll get paid eventually.
Okay.
What are the items, Hank?
There's an invoice for $8,110 for Doran Whittier for the school master plan. And then there's another amount for Eversource for the Jack Cogswell building PV storage, but that can wait. We're still working on getting the approval for the PPA and other things associated with Jack Cogswell.
Has the Durham Witter bill been hanging around a long time?
It came in last week.
Okay, well, that's fine. 30 days is fine. So we could do it, make sure we take it up on the 16th and have
Yep.
the right people there.
Perfect. Okay, great. Any other new business for the committee?
Just a quick question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, George.
The items being taken up at town meeting that we're involved with, do you happen to have a list of those?
I do not. I'm going to do it from memory. There is the certainly the Emery Grover. There is the well, it's actually Barry's article on Hillside, and I think
Those are Article 20, 21, and 22.
Yeah.
There's also Pollard locker room.
Pollard Locker is supposed to be us. Who is going to speak to those if that needs to be the case? Is the chair going to be there?
On Article 21, I think Matt Spangler is addressing that one for the school committee. And Article 22, I believe Matt is also presenting. I'm not sure about the Pollard locker room.
Okay.
Yeah. And at our last discussion, we had also talked about potentially allowing building maintenance to take the Pollard locker room forward.
Right.
As they did.
In the warrant, it says Permanent Public Building Committee, which means that we probably would have to transfer responsibility over to them. But
correct.
The issue I'm getting at is the following. When I was chair, I always looked through the warrant to make sure that I knew what every warrant article that said PBBC in it, what the history was behind it, so that if a question came up like, where did you come up with the dollar number for the Pollard lockers? Certainly today, I could not defend that. I don't know enough about it. Someone needs to be prepared to defend that, whoever that person is going to be. Is it going to be Barry? Is it going to be Stewart? That's why I raised the question. Hello.
Yeah.
Well, I raised the question because it would be embarrassing if someone said, well, it's supposed to be done by the PBBC. Is there someone here from the PBBC that can speak to this article? You know how that works. Sometimes that happens.
The chair did not mention anything about his being away during town meeting. He had suggested that he would be away this week with respect to this PBC meeting. I don't know if Hank or Catherine, if you had heard anything differently, but my expectation is that the chair is going to be in attendance at town meeting next week. Have you, either of you heard anything to the contrary?
No.
No.
Okay. All right. So we assume that Stuart will be prepared to answer questions on any items.
Right. I think the good news is that neither of these articles is likely to come up on the first night of town meeting. So we will have a little bit of leeway. If we determine that Stuart is not available, we will be able to regroup and kind of figure out who's going to speak to these articles and prepare for them if we need to. But right now, the expectation is that it's the chair who will be speaking to these articles if needed.
Right. I'm assuming that that if he's there, he'll be prepared to speak on Emery Grover. That's the one that probably would draw the most questions.
Yes, although interestingly, I did attend the league night last evening by Zoom, and there were no substantive questions on Emery Grover. I think what caught me by surprise was that the Finance Committee representative, I don't think, was aware of the plan to potentially come back in October for additional funding, which I was a little
Right.
surprised at.
We had
Yeah.
virtually no questions in my session last night. I
Yeah.
attended in person, and we had virtually no questions on Emery Grover. There was someone there from the CPC to explain
Right.
what they were doing, but their contribution's really only $2 million of the 19.6 or whatever.
It's 6 million.
Is it
Yeah,
6 million?
No, it's 2 million in cash and 4 million in
that's-
borrowing.
That's right.
Okay.
So-
All right. Well, I'm going
The
to.
other, I think,
ahead.
anyway, I think we ought to give him a high sign. Might be a good idea to send him an email or something to
Yes.
encourage him to be on top of those things. I suspect he is, but
I will. I'll take care of that. I assume he does have access to email wherever he is, and that he will be able to just confirm that he will be ready to field any questions on these articles. I'll take care of that. Hank?
Yes, and we have also been feeding, responding to questions through Dan Gutekunst to prepare Matt Spangler and others for answering. And normally it'd be the user committee
Proponents.
representative.
Yeah,
that would
proponents.
respond to
Yeah,
those questions.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Okay. Very good. Okay, but we have seen in the past where PVC is asked a technical question anyway, so we want to make sure that we are prepared for that. So I'll reach out to Stuart and confirm that he'll be available. And if not, we will make other plans. So with that, any other questions or comments before we adjourn? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
move to
Thanks, Phil.
adjourn.
Okay, second, is there a second?
Second,
Okay, well, I guess we'll do a roll call, which is very few people now. But anyway, George,
Aye.
okay, Erwin,
aye.
Jean,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.
Hey,
Thank you.
hey, Gene,
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
give me a call sometime in the next couple of days. I have
Okay.
a 5-minute question for you.
Okay. We'll do, George. I'll call you
Great.
tomorrow.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks all.